She took a job as a live-in nurse, unaware the patient was her billionaire ex who left her pregnant with twins. The solarium was a breathtaking glass extension overlooking the Pacific, filled with tropical plants and bathed in natural light. Clara's eyes adjusted slowly, taking in the lush greenery before settling on the figure seated in a modern wheelchair near the windows. "Mr. Caldwell, your new nurse has arrived," Margaret announced. The man turned, and Clara's world collapsed. Time seemed to freeze as she stared into eyes she'd once known better than her own. Amber with flecks of gold, now widened in equal shock. The face was older, leaner, with silver threading through once purely dark hair at the temples, but unmistakably him. Ethan, the man who had walked out of her life 9 years ago, leaving nothing but a hastily scribbled note and a broken heart. The man who had no idea he'd also left her pregnant with twins. "Clara?" His voice was hoarse, disbelieving. The room tilted dangerously. Clara gripped the back of a nearby chair, her professional mask slipping as memories crashed through her carefully constructed defenses. "You two know each other?" Margaret asked, confusion evident. "We've met," Clara managed, her voice distant to her own ears. "A long time ago. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to come face to face with the person who shattered your heart, only to discover they have no idea about the children they left behind? What would you do if fate suddenly forced you to care for the very person who abandoned you when you needed them most?" I'm Mr. Harrison, and today I'm sharing the remarkable story of a nurse whose new job reunited her with the man who left her pregnant with twins, a man who now depends on her for his very survival. Hi, my beautiful sisters. This story is for every woman who has ever had to rebuild her life from broken pieces. For every mother who found strength she never knew she had. For every heart that carries both scars and hope. Remember, your resilience is not just your survival, it's your superpower. Sometimes life brings us full circle not to repeat our pain, but to give us a chance to heal it differently. Whatever chapter you're in right now, know that your story isn't over, and the strongest characters often come from the most challenging plots. The manila envelope felt unusually heavy in Clara Mitchell's hands as she stood before the wrought iron gates of Caldwell Estate. 10 years as a nurse had taught her to recognize the weight of life-changing moments, and something about this particular job offer carried that same gravity. "Name, please," crackled a voice through the intercom. "Clara Mitchell. I'm the new live-in nurse for Mr. Caldwell." The gates parted with a soft mechanical hum, revealing a winding driveway bordered by perfectly manicured cypress trees. Clara adjusted her simple navy blazer and smoothed her practical ponytail, grateful she'd chosen her most professional outfit for this first meeting. The position had seemed almost too perfect when her agency presented it. Generous salary, private accommodations, and most importantly, stability after years of exhausting hospital shifts that left her scrambling for childcare. As the imposing limestone mansion came into view, Clara felt a flutter of anxiety. Her resume had been vetted, references checked, but she knew nothing about Ethan Caldwell beyond his reputation as a reclusive tech billionaire recovering from a serious health crisis. The agency had been frustratingly vague about specifics, citing confidentiality agreements. "You'll be briefed on his medical needs upon arrival," was all they would say. The front door opened before she could knock, revealing a silver-haired woman with kind eyes and an efficient demeanor. "Ms. Mitchell, welcome to Caldwell Estate. I'm Margaret, the house manager." She extended her hand. "We've been expecting you." Clara followed Margaret through a soaring entryway of marble and glass, the space elegant yet somehow cold despite the California sunshine streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. "Mr. Caldwell's medical team has prepared extensive notes," Margaret explained, leading her down a corridor lined with abstract art. "He suffered a cardiac event 3 months ago, followed by complications. He's stable now but requires monitoring and rehabilitation." "I understand," Clara nodded, mentally cataloging potential care requirements. "Will I be meeting him today?" "Yes, he's waiting in the solarium. He prefers to personally approve all staff who'll be working closely with him." Margaret paused, studying Clara with an unreadable expression. "He can be particular, but I'm sure you'll manage fine." And then came that moment in the solarium that changed everything. The moment when Clara's carefully constructed life collided with her past in the most unexpected way possible. Ethan hadn't moved, his knuckles white where they gripped the wheelchair's armrests. "Margaret, give us a moment, please." The house manager hesitated, then nodded, withdrawing silently. Silence expanded between them, heavy with unspoken words and shared history. Clara fought to regain her composure, years of nursing experience finally steadying her. Whatever their past, right now he was a patient and she was a professional. "I didn't know," she said finally. "Your name was listed as Ethan Caldwell. I knew you as Ethan Carter. Carter was my mother's maiden name. I used it in college to avoid attention." His eyes hadn't left her face. "Clara, I don't." She cut him off, raising a hand. "Whatever you're about to say, I don't want to hear it. Not now." She straightened her shoulders. "I should go. This is clearly inappropriate." "Wait." The word held a note of desperation that stopped her. "Please, I understand this is unexpected, but I need a nurse, and according to your agency, you're the best. There are other nurses. None with your qualifications." He gestured to the chair opposite him. "At least sit. You look like you might faint. If you've ever had a moment where your past and present collided unexpectedly, hit that like button. And if you believe that sometimes the most difficult reunions can lead to the most profound healing, subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories that touch the heart." Clara reluctantly took the seat, maintaining as much distance as the arrangement allowed. Up close, she could see the toll illness had taken on him. The shadows beneath his eyes, the slight hollowness in his cheeks, the careful way he held himself. "What happened to you?" she asked, medical curiosity momentarily overriding personal turmoil. "Myocarditis that led to heart failure. I collapsed during a board meeting." His mouth twisted in a humorless smile. "Apparently even billionaires aren't immune to mortality. And your prognosis? Good with proper care. The damage was significant but not irreversible." He studied her, his expression softening. "You look well, Clara. The years have been kind." "I've been busy," she replied neutrally, unwilling to give him any glimpse of her life, their children's lives, after he'd chosen to walk away. Ethan nodded slowly. "I imagine you have questions. None that matter anymore." Clara stood, decision made. "I'll contact the agency and have them send someone else. I wish you a full recovery, Mr. Caldwell." "Clara, wait." He moved forward in his wheelchair, wincing slightly. "I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I'm asking anyway. Stay, just for today. Give me a chance to explain." "Explain what?" "How you disappeared without a word. How you left me to pick up the pieces." The words escaped before she could stop them, years of carefully contained hurt spilling over. "Yes." His voice was quiet. "That and more." Clara looked away, focusing on the ocean visible beyond the glass walls. She should leave. Every instinct screamed it. Yet something held her in place. Perhaps professional obligation, perhaps morbid curiosity, perhaps the ghost of feelings she'd thought long buried. "One day," she said finally. "I'll stay today. That's all I'm promising." Relief washed over his features. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Clara retrieved her professional demeanor like armor. "I need to see your medical records and speak with your doctors before I decide anything further." "Of course. Margaret can arrange that immediately." As if summoned, the house manager reappeared at the doorway. "Is everything all right?" "Ms. Mitchell has agreed to stay for today," Ethan informed her. "Please provide her with my complete medical file and contact information for Dr. Winters." "Right away, sir." Margaret's gaze flickered between them, clearly sensing the tension. Clara followed her from the solarium, feeling Ethan's eyes on her back with every step. In the hallway, she paused to steady her breathing, mind racing with implications. The twins. What would she tell them? 8-year-old Lily and Lucas believed their father was a man who died before they were born. A necessary fiction she created to shield them from rejection. How could she possibly explain that not only was he alive, but she was now his nurse? Ms. Mitchell. Margaret's concerned voice broke through her thoughts. Are you sure you're all right? Yes, Clara lied, straightening her shoulders. Just processing the medical information. Could I use your phone? I need to make a call. Minutes later, she was speaking with her sister, Kate, who had been watching the twins for what was supposed to be a few hours, while Clara met her new employer. Something's come up, Clara explained carefully. I may be later than expected. Could you keep them overnight? Of course, Kate replied. Is everything okay with the new job? It's complicated. I'll explain later. After hanging up, Clara spent the next several hours in clinical detachment, reviewing Ethan's extensive medical records. The diagnosis was, as he'd stated, viral myocarditis leading to heart failure, followed by a difficult recovery complicated by arrhythmias and fluid retention. He'd been hospitalized for 6 weeks before insisting on continuing his recovery at home, against medical advice. Stubborn as ever, she murmured, recognizing the trait that had once both attracted and frustrated her. As Clara reviewed the medical files, her mind drifted back to their first meeting 9 years ago. She had been working in the university library, shelving medical textbooks to help pay for her nursing degree. Ethan had approached her, rain-soaked and charming, asking for help finding resources for a computer science project. I'm trying to develop an algorithm that could help predict patient outcomes, he'd explained, his enthusiasm infectious. But I need to understand the medical side better. What had started as a simple research assistance had blossomed into coffee, then dinner, then a whirlwind romance that had consumed her final year at university. Ethan had been brilliant, ambitious, and seemingly devoted, until the morning she woke to find him gone, leaving only a hastily scribbled note. I can't do this. I'm sorry. You deserve better. 2 weeks later, she discovered she was pregnant. By evening, Clara had spoken with his cardiologist, reviewed his medication regimen, and observed his current physical limitations. Professionally, the case was straightforward, challenging but well within her expertise. Personally, it was an emotional minefield she had no desire to navigate. As twilight settled over the estate, she found Ethan in his study, reviewing documents despite orders to limit work stress. You should be resting, she said from the doorway. He looked up, setting aside his tablet. Old habits. Bad habits, she corrected, stepping into the room. Your heart needs time to heal. Some things can't be healed by time alone. His gaze was steady, meaningful. Clara ignored the implication. I've reviewed your case. You need consistent monitoring, medication management, and a structured rehabilitation program. Your current routine is inadequate. Is that your professional assessment? Yes. And will you be the one providing this care? Clara hesitated, the question she'd been avoiding all day. I don't think that would be appropriate, given our history. Our history is precisely why it should be you. Ethan's voice softened. Clara, I know I hurt you, deeply, unforgivably, but I'm asking for your professional expertise, not your forgiveness. You can't separate the two so neatly. Perhaps not. But I trust you in a way I could never trust a stranger. He gestured to his weakened state. I'm not exactly at my best. The thought of being vulnerable around someone unknown. He trailed off, a flash of genuine fear crossing his features. Clara recognized it immediately, not manipulation but authentic vulnerability. Despite everything, she understood. As a nurse, she'd seen how illness stripped away pretenses, leaving even the most powerful people fragile and exposed. 1 week, she found herself saying. I'll stay for 1 week while the agency finds a suitable replacement. Relief flooded his expression. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is a professional arrangement only. She moved toward the door, then paused. There's something you should know. What is it? Clara met his gaze directly. I have children, 8-year-old twins. They'll need to stay with me if I'm living here, even temporarily. She watched the information register, saw the quick calculation in his eyes as he processed the timeline, the implication. Twins, he repeated, voice barely audible. Yes, Lily and Lucas. She delivered the names like a deliberate blow. Ethan's face paled further, his hand unconsciously moving to his chest. Are they? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Clara cut him off, unwilling to have this conversation when both of them were emotionally exhausted. For now, you need to rest, and I need to make arrangements. She left him sitting there, stunned into silence, and made her way to the guest suite Margaret had prepared. Only when the door closed behind her did Clara allow herself to sink onto the edge of the bed, trembling with delayed shock and uncertainty. What had she done? In the span of a single day, the careful life she'd built for herself and her children had been upended. Now she was committed to spending a week under the same roof as the man who had abandoned her, who until today had no idea he was a father. Her phone chimed with a text from Kate, a photo of the twins building a blanket fort in her living room, their identical grins showcasing missing front teeth. Lucas had Ethan's eyes, Lily his dimpled smile. How had she never noticed how strongly they resembled him? Clara touched the screen gently, heart aching with love and protective fear. Whatever happened next, she would shield them from harm, even if that harm came from their own father. Morning arrived with painful clarity. Clara dressed in her practical scrubs, twisted her hair into its usual knot, and called Kate to arrange bringing the twins to the estate that afternoon. The conversation with them would be difficult, but she decided on a version of the truth. Mr. Caldwell was an old friend who needed medical care, and they would be staying at his house while she worked. She found Ethan in the kitchen, attempting to prepare his own breakfast despite obvious fatigue. His movements were careful, deliberate, each action clearly requiring concentration. You should have waited for assistance, she said, moving to take over. I've been waiting for 9 years, he replied quietly. I think that's long enough, don't you? Clara stilled, the simple act of cracking eggs suddenly impossible. We're not doing this now. When then? After you've brought our children into my home without telling them who I am. They're my children, she corrected sharply. You forfeited any claim to parenthood when you walked out. I didn't know you were pregnant. Would it have mattered? The question hung between them, raw and honest. Ethan set down the spatula, bracing himself against the counter. I don't know. I was 24, terrified of responsibility, running from my father's expectations. I told myself you deserved better. I deserved the truth. I deserved a conversation, not a note. Yes, he met her gaze directly. You did. I was a coward. The simple admission caught her off guard. The Ethan she'd known had been brilliant but proud, never one to acknowledge weakness. What changed? She asked despite herself. Nearly dying tends to clarify one's perspective. His smile was rueful. That and 9 years of regret. Clara turned away, focusing on preparing a heart-healthy breakfast that aligned with his dietary restrictions. The twins will be here this afternoon. I've told them you're an old friend who needs medical care. Is that all I am to you now? An old friend. You're my patient, she corrected. For 1 week. Ethan accepted the plate she handed him, their fingers briefly touching. And after that week? After that week, you'll have a new nurse, and we'll determine appropriate visitation arrangements for the twins, if you want that. He broke off, visibly struggling for composure. Of course I want that. They're my children. Biologically, yes, but being a father is more than DNA. Clara sat across from him, her professional mask firmly in place. Now, let's discuss your care plan for today. The morning passed in a clinical routine, medications, vital signs, a gentle stretching session to improve his mobility. Clara maintained professional distance, focusing on his recovery rather than their shared past. Ethan followed her instructions without complaint, though his eyes followed her constantly, filled with questions she wasn't ready to answer. At precisely 2 o'clock, Kate's car pulled up the driveway. Clara met them at the entrance, heart pounding as the twins tumbled out, their energy a stark contrast to the mansion's hushed atmosphere. Mom! Lucas reached her first, throwing his arms around her waist. This house is huge. Is it really all for one person? It's like a castle, Lily added, more reserved but equally impressed. Do we really get to stay here? For a little while, Clara confirmed, smoothing Lily's dark curls. Remember what I told you about Mr. Caldwell? He's recovering from a heart problem and needs my help. Is he nice? Lucas asked, always direct. Clara hesitated. He's trying to be better. Kate raised an eyebrow at this, clearly sensing there was more to the story. Call me if you need anything, she said, hugging Clara goodbye, and I expect a full explanation soon. After Kate departed, Clara led the twins through the mansion, explaining the rules. Quiet voices, no running indoors, respect for Mr. Caldwell's need for rest. They nodded solemnly, though Lucas's fingers twitched with the effort of containing his natural exuberance. Ethan was waiting in the solarium, seated in an armchair rather than his wheelchair. A deliberate choice, Clara suspected, to appear stronger for this first meeting. When the twins entered, his breath visibly caught, eyes widening as he took in their features. Lily, Lucas, this is Mr. Caldwell, Clara introduced them, watching Ethan carefully. Mr. Caldwell, these are my children. Hello, Ethan said softly, his voice unsteady. I'm very pleased to meet you both. Lucas stepped forward immediately, curious as always. Mom says you had a heart attack. My teacher says that happens when your heart gets too tired. Something like that, Ethan replied, his gaze moving between the twins with barely concealed wonder. It's working better now, though. Lily remained half-hidden behind Clara, studying Ethan with thoughtful eyes. Your house is very big for just one person, she observed quietly. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. Yes, it is. Too big, really? Then why do you live here? Lucas asked, earning a gentle Lucas manners from Clara. It's a fair question, Ethan said. I suppose I thought a big house would make me feel important. I'm learning that other things matter more. Clara felt a strange tightness in her chest at his words. This reflective humility was new, nothing like the ambitious young man who'd once told her that success required sacrifices. Children, why don't you go with Margaret? She's going to show you your rooms while I discuss Mr. Caldwell's treatment plan. Margaret appeared as if summoned, offering the twins a warm smile. I've prepared rooms with an adjoining door to your mother's suite, and there might be cookies in the kitchen if you're interested. Lucas needed no further encouragement, but Lily hesitated, looking back at Ethan with a curious expression. Your eyes look like my brother's, she said simply before following Margaret. When they were alone, Ethan released a shaky breath. They're beautiful, Clara. Perfect. Yes, they are. She busied herself checking his pulse, needing the clinical distance. Lily has your thoughtfulness. Lucas has your smile. His voice was thick with emotion. How could I not have known? All these years. You left, Ethan. You chose not to know. Clara's fingers pressed perhaps too firmly against his wrist. Your pulse is elevated. You should rest. How can I rest now? He caught her hand as she withdrew it. Clara, please, tell me about them. Everything. Their first words, first steps. What they love, what they fear. I've missed so much. The raw longing in his voice cracked something in her carefully maintained composure. Yes, you have. And that was your choice. A choice I would give anything to undo. His grip on her hand tightened. I know I don't deserve forgiveness or a second chance. But they deserve to know their father, don't they? Clara pulled her hand away. The father they know died before they were born. A good man who would have loved them if he'd had the chance. Ethan flinched as if struck. A convenient fiction. A necessary protection, she countered. What was I supposed to tell them? That their father decided we weren't worth staying for. I never thought. That's just it, Ethan. You never thought about anyone but yourself. Clara stood, needing distance. I have to check on the twins. Take your medication and rest. Doctor's orders. If you've ever had to protect your children from painful truths, give this video a like. The courage it takes to shield those we love while carrying our own wounds is something only the strongest hearts understand. She left him there, his face a mask of regret and longing, and found the twins exploring their new rooms with delight. Lucas was bouncing experimentally on his bed, while Lily had already arranged her books on the nightstand. "Mom, there's a swimming pool," Lucas exclaimed. "Can we use it? Please. Perhaps tomorrow, if Mr. Caldwell feels up to sitting outside." Clara sat on Lily's bed, drawing her daughter close. "How are you feeling about all this, sweetheart?" Lily leaned against her, thoughtful as always. "Mr. Caldwell seems sad." "He's been very ill," Clara explained carefully. "No, not that kind of sad. Inside sad." Lily looked up at her with perceptive eyes. "He looks at you like he's sorry about something." Clara sometimes forgot how observant her daughter was. "Mr. Caldwell and I knew each other a long time ago, before you were born." "Were you friends?" Lucas asked, abandoning his bed bouncing to join them. "We were close once, but then we went different ways." "Is that why it's weird between you?" Lucas pressed. "You both get all stiff and formal, like when Principal Gonzalez visits our classroom." Clara couldn't help but smile at the comparison. "It's complicated, sweetheart, but you don't need to worry about it. We're only staying here until Mr. Caldwell is better." "I like it here," Lucas declared. "It's like living in a museum, but we're allowed to touch stuff." "Some stuff," Clara corrected. "Remember the rules we discussed." The rest of the day passed in a blur of settling in, preparing meals, and monitoring Ethan's condition. Clara kept the twins mostly separate from him, using his need for rest as justification. In truth, she needed time to process, to plan, to protect her children from the emotional upheaval she herself was barely managing. That evening, after tucking the twins into bed with promises of exploring the grounds tomorrow, Clara found Ethan in his study again, this time reviewing what appeared to be old photographs. "You should be in bed," she said from the doorway. "Probably." He didn't look up. "Did they settle in all right?" "Yes, they're adaptable." Clara stepped into the room despite her better judgment. "What are you looking at?" Ethan turned the album toward her. Cambridge. Summer semester." Clara's breath caught at the images, her younger self laughing as Ethan pulled her close on the banks of the Charles River, both of them sun-kissed and carefree. She'd been a nursing student then, working her way through school with scholarships and part-time jobs. He'd been the brilliant computer science major who'd asked for her help in the campus library one rainy afternoon. "Why did you keep these?" she asked, voice barely audible. "They were all I had left of you." His fingers traced the edge of a photo. "After I left, I tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing, that you deserved someone who could commit fully, not someone running from his family's expectations." He looked up at her. "But I never stopped missing you." "Stop." Clara stepped back. "This isn't fair, Ethan. You can't just reappear in my life and expect—" "What? Forgiveness? Understanding? A family reunion?" "I expect nothing," he said quietly. "But I hope for a chance to explain, to make amends, somehow. Some things can't be fixed with apologies or explanations." "I know." He closed the album carefully. "But our children deserve the truth, don't they? The real truth, not a convenient story about a dead father." The words struck with precision, finding the doubt she'd carried for years. Had she been right to create that fiction? Or had she been protecting herself as much as them? "They're too young to understand abandonment," she said finally. "Then help me ensure they never have to." Ethan's voice was earnest, his eyes clear with purpose. "Let me prove I'm not that selfish boy anymore, that I can be someone worthy of knowing them, and maybe, someday, worthy of your forgiveness." Clara studied him, searching for the manipulation or entitlement she'd expected. Instead, she found only genuine regret and hope. "One step at a time," she said finally. "For now, you're Mr. Caldwell, my patient. Anything beyond that depends on your actions, not your words." "Fair enough." He nodded, accepting her terms. "Thank you for bringing them here, Clara, for letting me see them, even if they don't know who I am yet." "I didn't do it for you," she clarified. "I did it because I couldn't leave them for a week." "I understand. Still, thank you." Clara turned to leave, then paused. "Ethan, what happened after you left? The real story." He sighed, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. I went to Silicon Valley as planned. Started Caldwell Tech with my trust fund. Worked 80-hour weeks building it into what it is now. His mouth twisted in a humorless smile. Became exactly what my father wanted, successful, wealthy, respected, and completely alone. You could have reached out. At any point. Pride. Then shame. Then the conviction that you must have moved on to someone better. He met her gaze directly. Did you? Move on. Clara thought of the handful of dates over the years, each ending when she couldn't open herself to the possibility of being hurt again. The twins became my priority. There wasn't room for much else. Ethan nodded, absorbing this. I'm sorry, Clara, for everything I took from you, for everything I missed. The simple sincerity in his voice reached something long buried inside her. Not forgiveness, it was far too soon for that, but perhaps the first crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. Get some rest, she said softly. Tomorrow's physical therapy will be challenging. As Clara lay in bed that night, sleep eluded her. Her mind kept returning to the moment she discovered she was pregnant. Just 2 weeks after Ethan had disappeared from her life. She remembered the cold tile of her apartment bathroom floor against her knees, the shock of seeing those 2 pink lines, the overwhelming fear of facing motherhood alone. She'd called his number repeatedly, only to discover it had been disconnected. She'd emailed, but received no response. She'd even gone to his apartment, only to find it emptied, the landlord informing her that Mr. Carter had paid the remaining lease in full and left no forwarding address. It was as if he'd vanished completely, erasing every trace of their relationship. Only the growing life inside her remained as evidence that Ethan Carter had ever existed. When the ultrasound revealed twins, Clara had laughed through her tears. Of course it would be twins. Because nothing about this journey was going to be simple. Her parents had been supportive but distant, living overseas for her father's diplomatic posting. They could offer little more than occasional financial help and brief visits. It was Kate who had become her rock, her sister moving into Clara's tiny apartment for those first chaotic months after the twins were born. Clara remembered the sleepless nights, the constant worry about money, the bone-deep exhaustion of caring for 2 infants while trying to finish her nursing degree. She remembered the moment Lucas had first smiled, Ethan's smile, unmistakably, and how her heart had both soared and broken at the sight. And now, after all these years of struggle and sacrifice, Ethan was back in their lives. Not as the carefree young man who had charmed her in the library, but as a billionaire tech mogul whose heart was literally failing him. The irony wasn't lost on Clara. Morning came too quickly. Clara rose before dawn, reviewing Ethan's medical charts and preparing his medications. By the time the twins awoke, she had already checked his vitals and helped him through his morning exercises. "Can we see the pool today?" Lucas asked over breakfast, his mouth full of cereal. "Don't talk with your mouth full," Clara reminded him automatically. "And yes, if Mr. Caldwell feels up to it, we can visit the pool this afternoon." "Is he your boyfriend?" Lucas asked suddenly, causing Clara to choke on her coffee. "What? No. Why would you ask that?" Lucas shrugged. "You look at him the way Ms. Rodriguez looks at the mailman. All angry but also not angry." Lily nodded sagely. "It's complicated." Clara stared at her children, momentarily speechless. Had she been that transparent? "Mr. Caldwell is my patient. That's all." "But you knew him before," Lily pointed out. "You said you were close." "That was a long time ago." Clara stood, gathering their breakfast dishes. "Now, I need you both to work on your summer reading while I help Mr. Caldwell with his therapy. Margaret will check on you." As she headed toward Ethan's suite, Clara tried to compose herself. The twins were too perceptive for their own good. She would need to be more careful about how she interacted with Ethan in their presence. She found him already dressed and waiting in the small gym that had been set up in one of the mansion's many rooms. He looked better today. Some color had returned to his face and he stood straighter. "You're early," she observed, setting down her medical bag. "Couldn't sleep." He offered a small smile. "Too many thoughts. About the twins? About everything. Them." The years I missed. He moved carefully to the treadmill. I kept thinking about what they were like as babies. If Lucas was always so curious. If Lily was always so thoughtful. Clara began setting up the monitoring equipment. Lucas talked early but walked late. Lily was the opposite. Barely said a word until she was 2, but she was climbing before she could crawl. The memories came easily, warming her voice despite her resolve to remain detached. They've always been like that, complementary opposites. Like us, Ethan said softly. Clara attached the heart monitor to his chest, deliberately ignoring the comment. We'll start with 10 minutes at a slow pace, then reassess. The therapy session proceeded professionally, Clara guiding Ethan through exercises designed to strengthen his heart without overtaxing it. They worked in relative silence, broken only by her instructions and his occasional questions about the twins. What's Lucas's favorite subject in school? Science, especially anything involving computers or robots. And Lily? Literature and art. She reads far above her grade level. Ethan absorbed each detail like a man dying of thirst. Do they have friends? Activities? Lucas plays soccer. Lily takes ballet but prefers her art classes. Clara adjusted the resistance on the stationary bike. They both have friends, though Lily is more selective. Lucas would befriend a lamppost if it would listen to him talk about drones. Ethan laughed, a genuine sound that momentarily transported Clara back to their university days. He sounds like me at that age. I used to disassemble every electronic device in our house. Drove my parents crazy. He dismantled our microwave when he was 6, Clara admitted with a reluctant smile, and then put it back together. It actually worked better afterward. Pride bloomed across Ethan's features. He's brilliant. Yes, he is. They both are. Clara checked his heart rate, pleased with the steady rhythm. That's enough for today. Your numbers look good. As she was disconnecting the monitoring equipment, a small voice came from the doorway. Mom? Margaret said we could come find you. Lily stood there, Lucas peering around her shoulder. We finished our reading. Already? Clara raised an eyebrow. All of it. Well, I did, Lily clarified. Lucas read 2 pages and then started designing a robot in his notebook. It's a pool cleaning robot, Lucas defended. That's practically science reading. Ethan chuckled, drawing the twins' attention. A pool cleaning robot sounds very useful. I'd be interested to see your design. Lucas's face lit up. Really? I could show you. I have my notebook right here. He pulled a dog-eared sketchbook from his back pocket. Clara watched as Ethan carefully lowered himself to a nearby bench, making room for Lucas beside him. The boy immediately launched into an enthusiastic explanation of his invention, complete with detailed drawings and animated hand gestures. Ethan listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions that made Lucas beam with pride. See, the problem with most pool robots is they can't get into the corners properly, Lucas explained, pointing to his sketch. But mine has these special brushes that extend and retract, so it can clean every part. That's brilliant, Ethan said, studying the drawing. Have you thought about how it would navigate? GPS might not work well underwater. Lucas's eyes widened. I didn't think about that. Maybe some kind of sonar? Like dolphins use. That could work. Or perhaps a mapping system using infrared sensors. Ethan glanced up, catching Clara's gaze. Your son has a remarkable mind. I know, she said softly, unable to miss the way Lucas glowed under Ethan's praise. Lily had remained by the door, observing the interaction with her characteristic thoughtfulness. Now she approached, standing just beside Clara. Do you like books, Mr. Caldwell? She asked. I do, Ethan replied, turning his attention to her. Though I don't have as much time to read as I'd like. What about you? Your mother says you're quite the reader. I'm reading The Secret Garden right now, Lily said. It's about a girl who finds a hidden garden that everyone forgot about, and she brings it back to life. That sounds wonderful, Ethan said. Perhaps you could tell me more about it sometime? Lily nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. I could. And maybe you could show me your library? Mom says big houses like this always have libraries. Indeed we do. It's one of my favorite rooms. Ethan's expression softened. Would you like to see it today? Can we, Mom? Lily looked up at Clara, hope shining in her eyes. Clara hesitated, torn between her desire to keep the twins at a safe emotional distance from Ethan and her inability to deny Lily's rare enthusiasm. I suppose so, if Mr. Caldwell is feeling up to it after his rest period. I'll be fine, Ethan assured her, though Clara noted the slight pallor that indicated his therapy session had tired him. Perhaps after lunch? After lunch, Clara agreed. And after you've rested properly. Doctor's orders. As they left Ethan to rest, Clara couldn't help but notice how quickly the twins had warmed to him. It was both heartwarming and terrifying, watching her children connect with their father without knowing who he truly was. I like Mr. Caldwell, Lucas announced as they walked toward the kitchen. He doesn't talk to me like I'm a baby, and he knows about robots. He seems lonely, Lily added, her perceptive gaze meeting Clara's. Is that why you're helping him, Mom? Because he's lonely? Clara chose her words carefully. I'm helping him because he's ill and needs medical care. That's my job. But you knew him before, Lucas persisted. When you were friends. Yes, we were friends once. The half-truth sat uncomfortably on her tongue. Did you have a fight? Lily asked. Is that why you stopped being friends? Clara sighed, realizing the twins wouldn't be easily deflected. Something like that. Sometimes people who care about each other still make choices that hurt one another. Like when Lucas broke my favorite paintbrush and didn't tell me? Lily asked. Hey, that was an accident, Lucas protested. And I made you a new one from that stick and Mom's hair ties. It's a bit like that, Clara acknowledged with a small smile. Except grown-up mistakes can be more complicated. Did Mr. Caldwell say sorry? Lucas asked. You always make me say sorry when I mess up. Not exactly, Clara admitted. Not until now. Better late than never, Lily said solemnly, repeating one of Clara's own frequent sayings. Out of the mouths of babes, Clara thought, wondering when her children had become so wise. After lunch, true to his word, Ethan gave the twins a tour of his library. An impressive two-story room lined with thousands of books and featuring comfortable reading nooks tucked between the shelves. Lily was in heaven, her eyes wide as she took in the collection. Lucas was more interested in the automated shelving system that could retrieve books from the highest levels. This is the best room ever, Lily breathed, running her fingers along the spines of a shelf of classics. Feel free to borrow anything that interests you, Ethan told her. Books are meant to be read, not just displayed. Really? Any book? Lily's face lit up with excitement. Any book appropriate for your age, Clara amended, giving Ethan a pointed look. Of course, he agreed quickly. Perhaps Margaret can help you find the children's and young adult section. It's on the lower level near the window seats. As Margaret led the twins deeper into the library, Clara found herself alone with Ethan again. You're good with them, she said quietly. Better than I expected. They make it easy, he replied. They're extraordinary children, Clara. You've done an amazing job raising them. I had to. The words came out more sharply than she intended. I didn't have a choice. Ethan's expression sobered. No, you didn't. Because of me. He moved to a nearby chair, sitting carefully. I keep thinking about what it must have been like for you. Finding out you were pregnant after I left. Raising them alone. All the milestones I missed. It was hard, Clara acknowledged, taking the seat opposite him. The hardest thing I've ever done. But also the most rewarding. Tell me about when they were born, Ethan said softly. Please. Clara hesitated, then found herself speaking, the memories flowing despite her reservations. It was a difficult pregnancy. Twins often are. I was put on bed rest for the last month, which meant taking a leave from my nursing program. Kate moved in to help me. The delivery was challenging. Emergency C-section at 36 weeks because Lily's heart rate dropped suddenly. Ethan's face paled. Were they all right? Lucas was fine, crying immediately, perfect APGAR scores. Lily gave us a scare. She wasn't breathing at first. Clara's voice caught at the memory. The longest 40 seconds of my life, waiting to hear her cry. But then she did, and everything was okay. I should have been there, Ethan said, his voice thick with regret. You shouldn't have gone through that alone. But I wasn't alone, Clara corrected him. Kate was there. My parents flew in from Geneva. I had friends from nursing school who checked on us. We built our own support system. Still, they were my children too. Ethan's gaze drifted to where the twins were visible among the bookshelves. Lily already settled in a window seat with a book while Lucas examined the mechanical shelving system. I missed everything. Their first words, first steps, first day of school. Lucas's first word was light, Clara found herself saying. He was fascinated by lamps, the way they turned on and off. Lily's was book, which surprised no one. They took their first steps on the same day, though hours apart. Lucas fell and cried, but Lily watched him and seemed to learn from his mistake. She waited until she was really ready. Ethan absorbed each detail like a precious gift. And school? How was their first day? Lucas was excited, made 3 friends before lunch. Lily cried when I left, but her teacher said she stopped the moment I was out of sight. She's always been private with her emotions. Clara smiled at the memory. By the end of the day, she'd organized the reading corner and appointed herself classroom librarian. A comfortable silence fell between them, both watching the twins among the books. For a moment, it was almost possible to imagine they were a normal family. Parents proudly observing their children, sharing memories and milestones. But they weren't a normal family. They were a woman who had raised her children alone for 8 years and the man who had abandoned them before they were born. No amount of shared DNA or regretful conversations could erase that reality. I should check your vitals, Clara said, breaking the moment. You've been up longer than recommended. I feel fine, Ethan protested, though he didn't resist when she took his pulse. Your heart rate is elevated. You need to rest. Clara's professional tone returned. The twins and I can explore the grounds while you take a nap. Will you tell me more later? Ethan asked, his voice holding a note of vulnerability that caught her off guard. About them? About the years I missed. Clara met his gaze, seeing the genuine longing there. Yes, she found herself saying, but not all at once. Some memories are still difficult. Thank you. The simple gratitude in his voice was almost her undoing. That afternoon, while Ethan rested, Clara took the twins swimming in the estate's Olympic-sized pool. Lucas was ecstatic, diving and splashing with boundless energy. Lily preferred to float peacefully, occasionally demonstrating her improving swimming technique. Mom, can we live here forever? Lucas asked, paddling beside her. It's way better than our apartment. No, sweetheart. This is Mr. Caldwell's home, not ours. We're just staying temporarily while I help him recover. But he likes us, Lucas persisted. I bet he'd let us stay if you asked. It's not that simple, Clara explained gently. We have our own home, our own life. But it's so small there, Lucas complained. And you're always tired from work. The observation stung with its accuracy. Their apartment was indeed small. A 2-bedroom unit where the twins shared a room divided by a bookshelf. And Clara was often exhausted, working long hospital shifts and picking up extra hours to make ends meet. Size isn't everything, she reminded him. Our home is filled with love and memories. Mr. Caldwell's house could be filled with love too, Lily said quietly from where she floated nearby. It just needs more people in it. Clara had no response to that simple truth. Dinner that evening was a surprisingly pleasant affair. Ethan joined them in the formal dining room, though Clara had suggested the more casual kitchen might be easier for him. He'd insisted, wanting to give the twins the full experience of the mansion. This table is bigger than our whole kitchen, Lucas observed, running his hand along the polished mahogany. Lucas, Clara admonished gently. It's all right, Ethan smiled. He's right. This dining room was designed to seat 20 for formal dinners. It's ridiculous for everyday use. Then why use it? Lily asked, always practical. Habit, I suppose. Ethan considered her question seriously. When you live alone, you stop noticing how empty spaces feel. That's sad, Lily declared. You should eat in the kitchen. It's cozier. Perhaps you're right, Ethan agreed. Maybe tomorrow we could have dinner there instead? Can we help cook? Lucas asked eagerly. Mom lets us help sometimes. I'm really good at stirring. And I can measure ingredients, Lily added. I'm very precise. I'd like that very much, Ethan said, his expression softening as he glanced at Clara. If your mother approves, of course. Clara nodded, unable to deny the simple joy this interaction brought to both Ethan and the twins. As long as it doesn't interfere with your rest schedule. After dinner, as Clara was tucking the twins into bed in their adjoining rooms, Lily asked the question Clara had been dreading. Mom, what happened to our real dad? You never talk about him. Clara sat on the edge of Lily's bed, her heart racing. What brought this up, sweetheart? Lily shrugged, her perceptive eyes never leaving Clara's face. I was just thinking about dads. Lucas and I are the only kids in our class without one. From his doorway, Lucas chimed in. Yeah, and you always get sad when we ask about him. You just say he died before we were born and he was a good person. Was he really good? Lily pressed. Did he love us? Clara felt tears threatening and fought to keep her voice steady. Your father would have loved you very much if he'd had the chance to know you. But he never did know us, Lucas pointed out. Because he died. The lie that had once seemed protective now felt heavy on Clara's tongue. That's right. Was he handsome? Lily asked. Did he look like Lucas? Clara swallowed hard. Yes, he was very handsome. And yes, Lucas has his eyes. And I have his smile, Lucas added proudly. You told me that once. You do? Clara confirmed, her heart aching at how easily the twins had absorbed the few details she'd shared over the years, treasuring these crumbs of information about their father. I wish we could have known him, Lily said softly. Even just a little. Me too, sweetheart. The truth in those words surprised Clara. Despite everything, she did wish Ethan had been part of their lives. Not the young man who had abandoned her, but the person he might have become if he'd stayed, if he'd faced his fears instead of running from them. After the twins were asleep, Clara found herself drawn to the terrace where she'd spoken with Ethan the previous evening. The night was clear, stars visible despite the coastal lights, the sound of waves breaking against the cliffs below a soothing rhythm. Couldn't sleep? Ethan's voice came from the shadows, startling her. You should be in bed, she replied automatically, turning to find him seated in a lounge chair, a blanket over his legs despite the mild evening. Physician, heal thyself, he countered with a small smile. You look as restless as I feel. Clara sighed, taking the chair beside him. The twins were asking about their father tonight. Ethan stilled. What did you tell them? The same story I've always told. That he died before they were born. That he would have loved them. She looked out at the darkened ocean. It used to feel like the right thing, protecting them from rejection. Now I'm not so sure. Because of me? Because I'm here. Partly. Clara turned to face him. But also because they're getting older. More curious. More aware that their family is different from their friends. The questions are becoming more specific, harder to deflect. When will you tell them the truth? Ethan asked quietly. I don't know, Clara admitted. Part of me wants to protect them forever. Another part knows that's impossible. For what it's worth, I think they're remarkable children. Resilient, intelligent, compassionate. Ethan's voice was soft with admiration. Whatever you decide, whenever you decide it, I'll respect your choice. But I hope you'll give me a chance to know them, and them to know me. Clara studied him in the moonlight, this man who was both familiar and strange to her. The ambitious student she'd fallen in love with was still visible in his features, but tempered now by age, experience, and recent illness. Why did you really leave, Ethan? She asked suddenly. The whole truth this time. He was quiet for a long moment, gathering his thoughts. Fear, he finally said. Not just of responsibility or commitment, though those were part of it. I was afraid of becoming my father. Your father? You rarely spoke about him. Because thinking about him terrified me. Ethan's gaze was distant, focused on memories. He was brilliant, successful, wealthy, and completely cold. Nothing I ever did was good enough. No achievement ever earned more than a brief nod of acknowledgement before he raised the bar higher. I remember you mentioning he was strict, Clara said carefully. Strict doesn't begin to cover it. He was cruel in his expectations. My mother left when I was 8. Couldn't take his emotional coldness anymore. After that, it was just him and me in that massive house, him working constantly, me trying desperately to earn his approval. That explains why you were so driven at university, Clara observed. Driven and terrified. Ethan's smile was sad. When I met you, it was the first time I'd ever considered a different path. You made me believe I could be more than my father's ambitions for me. But then what? He had his first heart attack. The doctors said it was stress, overwork. He called me from his hospital bed, not for comfort, but to remind me of my responsibilities to the family legacy. Ethan's voice grew quieter. And I looked at you, brilliant, kind, full of dreams about helping people, and I thought, I'll destroy her. I'll become my father, cold and demanding, and I'll crush her spirit the way he crushed my mother's. So you left, Clara said, understanding dawning. To protect me. That's what I told myself. Ethan met her gaze directly. But it was really to protect myself from failing you, from becoming him. It was cowardice disguised as nobility. Clara absorbed his words, pieces of their past falling into place with new clarity. Your father, is he still alive? No. He died 3 years after I left you. Another heart attack, massive this time. He was alone in his office on a Sunday night, still working. Ethan's voice held a complex mixture of grief and resignation. His last words to me were about quarterly projections. I'm sorry, Clara said softly, and meant it. The irony isn't lost on me. Ethan gestured to his chest. That I've inherited not just his company and his fortune, but his heart condition as well. Though the doctors say mine was viral, not stress-induced. Myocarditis often has a genetic component to susceptibility, Clara said automatically, her medical training surfacing. Then she paused, a new worry forming. The twins should be monitored as they get older. Ethan finished her thought. I've already spoken to my cardiologist about genetic testing for family members. He hesitated. I didn't mention the twins specifically, just asked hypothetically. Clara nodded, grateful for his discretion. I'll speak with their pediatrician. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared concern for the children hanging between them. It's strange, Clara finally said. All these years, I imagined you living this perfect, carefree life, unburdened by responsibility, while I struggled with diapers and daycare costs. And instead I was working myself into the same lonely existence as my father. Ethan's laugh held no humor. Building an empire with no one to share it with. The twins asked if we could live here forever, Clara admitted. Lucas thinks your house is better than our apartment. Smart boy, Ethan said with a small smile. The offer stands, you know. The East Wing could be yours. All of you. Ethan. Not as a couple, he clarified quickly. I'm not presuming anything, just as a family arrangement. For the twins. They deserve space to grow, to explore their interests. Lucas could have a proper workshop for his inventions. Lily could have access to the library. The offer was tempting, Clara had to admit. Their apartment was cramped, the neighborhood decent but not great, the local schools adequate but underfunded. Here, the twins could have everything she'd ever wanted to give them but couldn't afford. And what would I be in this arrangement? She asked carefully. Your live-in nurse? The mother of your children who lives in the separate wing. Whatever you want to be, Ethan said simply. I'm not asking for forgiveness or reconciliation, Clara. I'm just offering the twins, and you, the resources I should have been providing all along. It's not that simple, Clara sighed. They don't know you're their father. Moving in here would raise questions I'm not ready to answer. Then we take it slowly, Ethan suggested. Start with regular visits after I've recovered. Build a relationship first. The truth can come later, when you think they're ready. Clara studied him in the moonlight, trying to reconcile the man before her with the boy who had left her. There was genuine remorse in his eyes, a humility that the younger Ethan had never possessed. One day at a time, she finally said. That's all I can promise right now. That's all I'm asking for. His hand found hers on the armrest between them, a gentle touch that she didn't pull away from. One day at a time. If you believe that sometimes the most broken paths can lead to the most beautiful destinations, give this video a like. And if you've ever had to find the courage to forgive, not for someone else's sake, but for your own heart's healing, subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison. The next few days fell into a rhythm that was both strange and comforting. Mornings were devoted to Ethan's medical care, medications, therapy exercises, monitoring his steadily improving condition. Clara maintained her professional demeanor during these sessions, though the clinical distance was becoming harder to preserve. Afternoons found the twins exploring the estate with growing confidence. Lucas had discovered the workshop where Ethan's maintenance staff kept their tools, and with supervision, was allowed to tinker with small projects. Lily had claimed a window seat in the library as her special reading nook, working her way through classic children's literature with voracious enthusiasm. Evenings brought them together for meals, now taken in the kitchen's breakfast nook rather than the formal dining room. These casual dinners became a highlight, filled with the twins' chatter about their day's discoveries and Ethan's attentive questions. On the fourth day, Clara found Ethan and Lucas hunched over a disassembled drone in the solarium, Ethan explaining circuit boards with the same enthusiasm he'd once shown teaching her to code. See how these components connect? He was saying. Each one has a specific job, but they need each other to work properly. Lucas nodded seriously, absorbing every word. Like a family? Ethan's hands stilled. Yes, exactly like that. From her position by the door, Clara saw the emotion that crossed his face. Love, regret, hope, before he carefully composed himself. Where's Lily? She asked, making her presence known. Reading by the pool, Lucas answered without looking up. Mr. Caldwell is teaching me about electronics. Did you know he invented the security system that protects the president's computer? I didn't, Clara replied, raising an eyebrow at Ethan. A slight exaggeration, he clarified with a small smile. Though we do have some government contracts. Mom, can Mr. Caldwell come to my science fair next month? I want to build something like this for my project. The innocent request hung in the air between them. Clara met Ethan's gaze, saw the careful neutrality there, leaving the decision entirely to her. We'll see, she said finally. It depends on Mr. Caldwell's recovery and schedule. I'd be honored, Ethan said quietly, if your mother approves. That evening, after the twins were asleep, Clara found herself once again drawn to the terrace. The night was cooler than previous evenings, a light fog rolling in from the ocean. She wrapped her cardigan tighter around herself, lost in thought. May I join you? Ethan's voice came from behind her. Clara turned to find him standing in the doorway, looking stronger than he had just days before. The color had returned to his face, and he moved with more confidence. Should you be up? She asked, though without her usual insistence on rest. My latest tests show significant improvement, he said, moving to stand beside her at the railing. Dr. Winters was quite pleased this morning. He called me, Clara confirmed, said you're exceeding recovery expectations. I have excellent motivation, Ethan said simply, his gaze meeting hers. Clara looked away first, focusing on the misty landscape below. The agency called today. They found a replacement nurse. She can start next Monday. So soon. Disappointment colored his voice. It's been 5 days, Ethan. The week is almost up. And then what? He asked quietly. You and the twins just disappear from my life again? That was the agreement. Agreements can change. Circumstances change. He turned to face her fully. I've changed, Clara. Have you? She met his gaze directly. Or are you just lonely and vulnerable after your health scare? Both can be true, he admitted. The heart attack forced me to confront my mortality, yes. But seeing you again, meeting the twins, it's shown me everything I've been missing. Everything that really matters. Clara sighed, conflicted emotions warring within her. It's not just about you and me, Ethan. The twins have to be my priority. They're my priority too, he insisted. I know I haven't earned the right to call myself their father yet, but I want to. I want to be part of their lives, to support them, to watch them grow. And if I say no, if I take them and leave on Monday as planned, pain flashed across his features, then I'll respect your decision. But I'll also ask for a chance to prove myself. Regular visits, perhaps. A chance to build a relationship with them, even if they don't know who I really am yet. Clara was silent, considering his words. The Ethan she'd known 9 years ago would have used his wealth and power to force the issue, would have threatened legal action to assert his parental rights. This Ethan was asking, not demanding. Lucas asked about his father again tonight, she said finally. He wanted to know what kind of work he did. What did you tell him? That his father was brilliant with computers. That he could build almost anything. Clara's voice softened. It wasn't a lie. Ethan's breath caught. Clara, I'm not promising anything, she cautioned. But I am thinking about how to tell them the truth. Not right away, but soon. They deserve to know. Hope bloomed across his features. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. They might not forgive you as easily as you hope. I don't expect easy forgiveness from them or from you. His fingers gently touched hers on the railing. But I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life earning it, if you'll give me that chance. The sincerity in his voice touched something deep within her, the part that remembered loving him, that recognized the good man beneath the mistakes. One day at a time, she said softly. That's all any of us can promise. On the morning of the 6th day, Clara woke to the sound of laughter, a rare and beautiful sound that drew her from her room to investigate. Following the noise to the kitchen, she found an unexpected scene. Ethan and the twins making breakfast together, flour dusting the countertops and all three of their faces. Mom! Lucas exclaimed when he spotted her. We're making pancakes. Mr. Caldwell is teaching us his secret recipe. Is he now? Clara leaned against the doorframe, taking in the domestic chaos with surprise. The secret is cinnamon and a touch of vanilla in the batter, Ethan Stage whispered, winking at Lily, who giggled in response. And we're putting chocolate chips in some and blueberries in others, Lily added, carefully dropping berries into a portion of the batter. I see. Clara moved into the kitchen, noting that Ethan seemed steady on his feet, his movements more fluid than they had been just days ago. Should you be cooking? What about your rest schedule? I'm following doctor's orders, Ethan assured her. Light activity is encouraged at this stage of recovery. Besides, I have excellent assistants. He smiled at the twins, who beamed back at him. Clara watched as Ethan guided Lucas in flipping a pancake, his hands gentle as he showed the boy how to turn the spatula just so. There was nothing forced or awkward in their interaction, just a natural ease that made her heart ache with both joy and regret for the years lost. Mom, Mr. Caldwell said we could use the pool again today, Lily said, carefully setting the table. And maybe have a picnic lunch by the water. That sounds lovely, Clara replied, accepting the cup of coffee Ethan handed her. Their fingers brushed in the exchange, a brief touch that sent an unexpected warmth through her. Thank you. My pleasure, he said softly, his eyes holding hers for a moment longer than necessary. Breakfast was a lively affair, the twins chattering about their plans for the day, while Ethan listened with genuine interest. Clara found herself relaxing into the moment, allowing herself to enjoy this glimpse of what family life could be like. After breakfast, While the twins went to change into their swimwear, Clara helped Ethan clear the dishes. "You seem stronger today," she observed, loading the dishwasher. "I feel better than I have in months," he admitted. "Physically and otherwise. Emotionally, spiritually even." He leaned against the counter, watching her. "Having you and the twins here, it's like color returning to a world that had faded to grayscale." "Ethan, I'm not pressuring you," he said quickly. "Just being honest. These past days have been the happiest I can remember." Clara closed the dishwasher, turning to face him. "The twins are getting attached to you, to this place. Is that so terrible?" "It could be if they get hurt when we leave." "Then don't leave," Ethan said simply. "Or at least not completely. Let this be a beginning, not an ending." Before Clara could respond, the twins burst back into the kitchen, excited for their swim. The moment passed, but his words lingered in her mind throughout the day. That afternoon, as Clara sat by the pool watching the twins swim with Ethan, her phone rang. It was the nursing agency, confirming the new nurse's start date for Monday.